Nigerians are expected to seek out the best.
Two words to describe the activity. The Yoruba Unity Forum is conducted.
Be the first to know. From the north, south, east, west, and around Africa.
Presidential
We break the news.
Women in Nigeria.
Now you can catch all the actions
I
live
wish you
as the news breaks. We are Core TV News,
Welcome to Core TV Primetime
our
News.
24-hour news station.
Thanks for staying with us on Core Digest Friday. We still have about two more newspapers to go, The Guardian and The Nation. Let's start with The Guardian, MCR. The big one here, of course, it's one story you'll find on every newspaper you care to check today. Council of State advises INEC to consult on polls. And the front picture also tell the story. Of course, ex-heads of state, all of them gathered together in Abuja on the front page of the Guardian. Do we have that picture? Okay, thank you. Of course, you have Senate President David Mark there, House of Reps Speaker Aminu Tambuwa, General Yakubu Gowon, Alhaji Shehu Shagari, Major General Muhammadu Buhari, who is coming, who is also attending after a long time. Of course, Ibrahim Babangida, Chief Ernest Shuneko, and General Abdusalam Abubakar. Obviously absent from this meeting was former President Olusegun Obasanjo. Prior to this time, many thought that he was also going to be there, especially given issues like the proposed postponement of the 2015 election. Petroleum Minister orders NNPC to defray $1.48 billion debt. The writers here say corporation not indicted in oil sector audit. Global petroleum price rises. Joining me at this other half of the show to discuss matters arising as we count down to the February 14 general election, I have the Special Assistant to Mr. President on Public Relations, Dr. Olusoya Awuso, joining us again this Friday. Good morning, sir. Good morning. And thank you very much for joining us. Dipo Olayoku is also here with us, a veteran public affairs analyst. Good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Yes, good morning.
Let me start with you, Doctor. The last time we were here, you were of the opinion that beyond the postponement, it is also important for us to consider the possible disenfranchising of certain millions of Nigeria in this forthcoming election. It looks as if the Council of State meeting is ready for the February elections, as long as INEC says it's ready. But from your own view, what's the implication of this?
Well, first and foremost, let me start from the meeting itself and to say that it's a good development that we have nearly all the former
presidents
present so that we can take advantage of their rich experiences. Really, election is about voters. I mean, among other things. When there are no voters, obviously that process is not the process of electioneering. So it is important, and like the Council of State has rightly decided, it's important that we consider all these things and to consider the level. I read that there's a report I read this morning that says that over 80% of registered Nigeria, are ready and willing to vote. I mean, that's a good development, and we must not, by either commission or our own commission or mission, disadvantage these people who are willing and ready to vote. I think I agree with the Council of State that INEC should consider all the issues that are on the table and then balance it with each other and see and take a progressive decision.
Okay. At the meeting yesterday, there were insinuations that all the APC stakeholders had to attend to ensure that that date remains. What would you say are the partisan interests on this particular date, in your own opinion?
It is just a sad commentary on the state of our nation. That some few days to the general election, we are still discussing is INEC ready or not, should we go ahead with the polls? Nifemi, it's a very embarrassing situation that even the American Secretary of State has to come to Nigeria to come and tell us that we must adhere to the date fixed for the elections. It's very embarrassing. This date for the election was fixed last year, almost a year ago. Why should we at this point be talking about are we ready? Should we go ahead with the election? The Constitution of Nigeria, that is the ground norm, which everybody is supposed to follow, every other law is subsumed under the Constitution, makes it very, very clear the functions of INEC to conduct elections, to register political parties, and fix dates for election. It is not ambiguous, very plain language. So why should we be discussing is INEC ready? Why should we be discussing a council of states want to hold a meeting to discuss whether INEC is ready? And INEC has consistently told Nigerians that we are ready. But let us look at the issues on ground, the issues of ordinary PVC. It is because our country just takes whatever happens, whatever comes their way. Let me tell you one thing. It's very, very clear that INEC bungled every step towards this election. Because why is it that INEC registered us in 2010 for the 2011 elections? I registered. On the basis of that registration, I voted in 2011. Only for INEC to come around in November when they said we should come and collect our PVC. I got there, they said our name disappeared from the system. About 200,000 voters in the community. They said we should do fresh registration. For 3 days, we were going there every day. We sacrificed our businesses. They said, okay, it's okay if all of you cannot register, come to our INEC office in your local government. I traveled, because I couldn't register, I traveled through 4 local governments to get to my local government T4. I got there, they said it was late, I couldn't register. That is INEC. But the point is, if you look at the mood of the people, I don't think in recent times there was ever any election that generated so much interest among Nigerians. There has never been. And we want to kill that momentum. Nigerians have got my mind fixed on February 14. Let me tell you one thing. If you go through the history of the world, where they practice democracy, there's nowhere you record during voting 100% of registered voters. It has never happened, even in America.
Let me hold you for a minute. We're going to take a commercial break now, and when we come back, we'll also touch on other developing stories. Stick around. Don't go away.
Which person can you carry?
And we now for MTN
Catch Quest! You see the look? Plenty people don't they win 10 million naira every week and 1 million naira every day. To win, just dial *170# for free and correct a who go with you. Whether that TV or generator or phone, you fit win all for free every day.
MTN, everywhere you go.
You can now watch Core TV News live from anywhere in the world on our website www.coretvnews.com. Click on Live TV on our website and watch us live.
And welcome to Core TV Primetime Days.
To follow us on Twitter, click on Twitter icon on our website. On Facebook, click on the Facebook and YouTube to see all our previous news production. You can also watch us live on YouTube. Click Core TV, leave a space, then News. Core TV News, a 24-hour news station.
Thanks for joining us again on Core Digest Friday. Earlier this week, we brought you a report that the SA to Mr. President, I believe on Media and Publicity, Doyin Okupe, showed on Twitter his own predictions for the 2015 election. And on this table, we have also matched that prediction with the latest number of PVCs that were collected, I believe, as at January 29, 30, thereabouts. So we have Doyin Okupe's presidential poll prediction on President Jonathan's victory and INEC account of PVCs collected. According to Okupe, he believes that for Abia, Mr. President will win by 80%. So the percentage you see under the prediction is what the percentage he believes that Mr. President will win with in those particular areas. Okay, we couldn't get the word for Anambra, but I'm sure that he made also a prediction for that. In Enugu, he believes that Mr. President will meet a land slide of 80%. The PVC is distributed as of January 29 in that state is 51%, and in Imo 37, as against 70% of Okupe's prediction. You see Ebonyi, Akwa Ibom, Cross River. Okay, if you're vigilant enough, I think the distribution here as at January 29 shows that in most of the places where Okupe predicted that Mr. President will win high, there hasn't been much collection relative to his prediction, so to speak. In Bayelsa, for instance, you see 63 as against 80. In Lagos, you see 38 as against 60. In Ogun, it's the same thing, 36 against 60, and it goes on and on like that. Hardly, rarely can you find a state that has PVCs collected matching up with Okupe's prediction. All right, let me get back to the studio. Special assistant, there are opinions right from the street that probably this is where the fear is coming from. Of course, as of today, the number of PVCs collected no doubt would have increased because INEC says they now have about 66% of PVCs distributed. Do you agree that probably this might just be the reason why certain PDP advocates would want the elections postponed?
No, before I answer your question, the gentleman here was saying that INEC bungled all the processes and all these things. And at the same time, was saying that INEC has fixed a date and that day will be sacrosanct, should be sacrosanct. You see, I think what is important is that when we come to talk to public here, the interest, for me, as an individual, the overall interest of Nigeria is more paramount to me than that of either PDP or APC. For some of us who have been involved in this struggle as student leaders, and up to today, we are still involved. We are not moved by our position today, but by what we believe Nigeria, where we believe Nigeria should be, and why Nigeria will be by the special grace of God. If you are saying that INEC, by your own convention, that they have bungled this thing, every processes, I think it is not too much for a body like Council of State, even individuals, civil society groups, and all, to look at what is on ground and advise INEC on how to proceed, so that, look, we don't say because of a delay of 1 hour, you now plunge yourself into calamity. It is not right for us as a country. And if an American Secretary of State comes, an American Secretary of State for that matter is an individual. Look, an American Secretary of State is on one-on-one. Will it be better than a part you told me? So let us, we as Nigerians, let us take our issues very serious, and let us also understand that in international politics, there are more inside than what people say outside. The interests of these countries are much more paramount to them than our own interest as a developing country. So I want us to get those ones clear. Now, talking about the predictions. Now, if there are 10 votes in a particular state, and you score X, that the percentage of that could be 70%. It does not, the percentage is not determined by the volume of votes that is in that place. For instance, what will be 80%? What will be 80% of 20 is not going to be 80% of 1,000. So I don't think that any fear can arise from that issue. And we also know that, look, in any contest, there will be divergence of opinion. The PDP can have this position on an issue where the APC has a different position. I don't think there's anything wrong about it. That's why we continue to debate, we continue to advance your own reason, and the generality of the people of Nigerian people that will determine at the end of the day. So I don't think if a political party, if PDP has a position, I don't think it's because PDP wants to take undue advantage. But maybe it believes that PDP believes that, oh, this particular issue may not advance justice by our own understanding. The APC could also say the same thing. It does not mean that because PDP is in government, that's why they are taking that position. Remember, it is PDP, a party that is going into this election. It is APC that is going into this election. I will not expect APC to keep quiet where he thinks that his interest will be jeopardized. So also I will not expect PDP to keep quiet where his interest is going to be jeopardized. But overall, it is the advancement and the progress of this nation that must determine whatever our position and what we take.
I'll get up with you, sir. Dipo Layok, what are your thoughts and take along this line, especially where some are of the opinion that probably there isn't an even distribution of this PVC at a particular point in time, and that must have motivated the call for a postponement, so to speak?
I cited my own example, just to let you know that as I sit on this table desk, I don't have a PVC. So if my friend is talking about individual interest, I should be at the vanguard of saying, no, the election must not hold. But I cannot, because of my own personal interest, jeopardize the generality of the interests of Nigerians. Let me just make a digression to comment on what he said.
Just before you go on, let me take this call from Anambra. Hello, good morning, Tochukwu.
Hello. Yes, good morning.
Good morning. Please go ahead with your contribution.
Okay, please, I want to say very quickly that I'm not happy that this issue of postponement has been limited to PDP and APC argument. I think it was rather the genuine concern of some eminent Nigerians that, considering the circumstances surrounding the distribution, that the election should be considered somehow. So the idea that it is now PDP wanting to postpone and the APC opposing it is rather being unfair to the no debate entirely. But having said that, I want to say that the argument of your guest, one of your guests over there, I had him say that you don't have 100% of voting in other places, suggesting that everybody doesn't vote after all during the election. With due respect, I think that argument is lame. Give me my PVC. It is my right to decide to vote or not. But it is different. This is far different from the fact that you did not give me my PVC, and you want to stand argument on my head. So give me my PVC. I can decide to vote or not to vote. You see, so when you have not given me my PVC, you can't come up to say that the election was credible, free, when I was denied the privilege to vote. So in conclusion, I said I had wanted the opportunity to speak to the special assistant to the president, and I'm glad I is here today. I just want to ask him a very straightforward question. I think I'm privileged to speak to you now. Please, sir, what is the program of Mr. President towards the people with disabilities? None of the presidential candidates has come up with a blueprint for these people. People with disabilities, what is he going to do? This is my own personal concern about the government. What are they going to do for the people with disabilities? Please, Nigerians want to know. Inclusive government, what will this paper policy, what practical step and policy will he employ for these people? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tochukwu, for your contribution from Anambra. I'll get back to you, Essay, but please go ahead.
Yes, as I speak with you, I don't have PVC. But the interest of Nigerians is more important than my personal interest. Then the special advisor or assistant, sorry if I get it right, said Don Kerry came to express his personal opinion. I'm surprised that he could say this. If a Secretary of State...
I didn't say it came to...
If a Secretary of State could leave America to come to Nigeria to talk to the president and the other candidate. Because who started it? The National Security Advisor went to the Chatham House in London and dropped the bombshell that he will advise. Who doesn't know where that advice is coming from? Why did he choose London? That was why the thing was internationalized, prompting the American Secretary of State to come. Now, back to the issue of is it a PDP and APC thing? Let me tell you something. You see, election is gathering momentum. I was on a live program on a TV station on Wednesday, where Mr. Kayode, who is the spokesperson to the INEC chairman, phoned in and said that as at that Wednesday, that INEC has produced all the PVCs that ought to be produced, even those who did fresh registration in December. And INEC had pushed these things out of their offices, the headquarters. Then the ball is in the court of Nigerians now. No, INEC said they are not owing anybody any PVC. I think what we should be doing is to be advising Nigerians, mounting campaigns on television, on radio, to help INEC in this process. The energy we are dissipating on whether they should postpone or not, if we are deployed them through educating Nigerians, helping INEC. INEC has always said, we are ready. They are ready by producing the PVCs. The PVCs are somewhere. We should deploy energy towards identifying where these PVCs are and imploring Nigerians to go and collect. If INEC were to be owing or still have some PVCs outstanding where they are printing, that would have been a different case. But they said even those who did fresh registration in December, they had produced them. So I think that is exactly what we are doing now, and that's exactly what people are doing. There is the need for Nigerians to go and collect their PVCs.
Are you satisfied with the operations of INEC at this time?
No, nobody can say they are satisfied. But that does not mean that in the next 2 months, in the next 3 months, INEC will be more prepared than they are today. This is Nigeria.
That's all right.
Because after the election, everybody forgets about the mistakes of INEC and we go back to life as usual.
Just a minute. We'll take another commercial break for just another half of a minute, and I'll be back with you, sir. Thank you very much for your cooperation. Stick around.
The gubernatorial election is here again. The Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, NIPR, Lagos State Chapter presents Lagos Decides 2015. This is a platform designed to give equal opportunity to all the candidates vying for the post of governor in Lagos State. All candidates are hereby invited to present their respective manifestos to its select audience comprising of PR practitioners, media, and other prominent professionals. Lagos Decides 2015 comes up on Wednesday, 11 February 2015. Time, 11 a.m. Venue, LCCI Event Center, CBD, Alausa Ikeja. Admission is strictly by invitation. For sponsorship details and advert placement, call Joe on 0802 3924 913 or Jola on 0802 366 3429. Proudly supported by MITV, Star FM, 101.5, Galaxy Television, Core TV, Cool TV, Wazobia TV, Nigeria Info, and Frontiers Consulting. The debate will be broadcast and streamed live. NIPR, deepening democratic values.
Thanks for staying with us on Cool Digest Friday as we count down to the February elections. The momentum, no doubt, is gathering and issues arising. I have Dupo Layoko, public affairs analyst, set with me, and of course, special assistant to Mr. President on Public Relations, Dr. Olusoya Awuson. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for staying the course. I believe you quickly want to react to some issues, as well as answer Tochiku's question.
I do agree that as citizens of this country, we have a very serious role to play in making sure that the process comes to a fruitful end. But I just want to say that it is not in the place of Nigerian people to help the INEC. They have done their own bits. You know, every center that I've visited, I see people there, long queues, but their PVCs are not there. So what else do you want them to do? I think Nigerian people have shown keen interest, and in fact they have been very supportive of all the institutions as regarding this election. We should give good kudos to Nigerian people. And the consciousness, he also alluded to it, the consciousness of Nigerian people, unlike before, is higher than any other, about this election, is higher than any other previous elections. So Nigerian people are doing their bit. What we should not be shy, we should be courageous enough to say that this our INEC is not doing quite well.
If INEC is not doing quite well, just a minute, sir. Yes. If INEC is not doing quite well, there are other people who are of the opinion that who should take responsibility for that? Shouldn't your principal, who is the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, take responsibility for the failure of a government agency as INEC? Let
me. I admit that every institution of government are created by law, and the law does not make the president the direct supervisor of each of these, or else there will be chaos. For instance, if you want to tell me now, if the traffic warden is not doing well, the president should go on the road and begin to pass the traffic. No, look, INEC does not only have chairman, they have resident federal electoral commissioners, they have other officers at the federal level, both at the state level, and these are eminent Nigeria. Each and every one of them, when you look at them, they are eminently qualified to hold any position, either president, vice president, only, and they are put there because they are citizens of this country. if by one error of omission, things are not going well. It is honourable for us to still, it's honourable for them to look at it. So look, at the state at which we are now, it is better for us to ask for more time so that there will not chaos. Rather than going ahead pretending that everything is okay. They themselves he himself have said it. Look, I told you last time I was here that I went with my wife to Sherry Grammar School or something. We stayed there for over 2 hours. She couldn't collect up to the time I'm telling you now. She couldn't collect. I have called Rand this morning to ask people. Okay, I called Akure, I called Elisha, I called some towns that I don't listed. What is the situation? The situation is that people will say, okay, I collected my own yesterday. A lot of people will say they say my name is not even there. Whereas they have the temporary card. So look, we need to look into all these things and that, because you know one thing, election itself is not just the voting. Whatever happened before, during, and after election, it is the summation of this that adds to the credibility of that election.
But you know, another basis of argument is that if INEC could not pull this through in 4 years, what certainty or assurance do we have that an extension?
No, it's not that INEC could not pull through.
3 or 4 months.
This is not the only assignment of INEC. They have done others. I mean, after all, they conducted election in 2011, and we cannot condemn that election. But you know, in any human activity, unforeseen circumstances can bring certain limitations or certain difficulties or certain challenges. These challenges you must address. You know what we call a man is that when a man owes up to challenges and you address these challenges with a view to overcoming that challenges, that is how to be a man. It is not that INEC has totally failed. After all, they have done other things. They have done some elections, by-elections, and they did it very well. But if there is a challenge in this one, the challenge does not mean that that we should totally condemn INEC, but that we should support INEC to overcome this present challenge with a view to moving forward. That's what people are saying.
Let's get to the phone lines very quickly. Hello, good morning.
Good morning,
I didn't get that. Yeah, calling from Benin.
Yes, sir.
All right, go ahead with the contribution. Yeah.
So, thank you very much for this listening. So, is it compulsory that everybody must collect PDP? It's not compulsory. It's not everybody that must reside in Lagos. For example, my brother was in Lagos. He registered in Lagos. He has been transferred from Lagos, and the PDP is in Lagos. Because I didn't go and collect PDP in Lagos. Remember when they conduct election at Osun State? Is everybody in the state that collected PDP start? Is everybody that collected PDP in the state before they conduct election there? Election should take place. Forget people collect PDP, they don't collect PDP. They have my own PDP. People that did not vote. That is not somebody's concern. Then what I'm trying to tell you is that INEC has scheduled the time for the election ballot voting. We are hoping for that for that election voting. That person was adopted. That is also our hope. Please, sir, that is what I want to do. That's my contribution.
Thank you very much, Aya, for your contribution from Benin. Let me come quickly to you, Dipo. There are issues as regards how to measure the credibility of this election. Just like he has rightly said, that the credibility is measured not only based on the results that are counted after the elections, but by the processes that led to the issues and the circumstances surrounding the election itself and then afterwards. Would you agree that if we have millions of registered voters disenfranchised, are we going to be able to all agree that this election really has been credible?
I think the credibility of elections in any society, first of all, is tied around the independence of the umpire. A situation where we have any inkling that there are some extraneous forces trying to pilot the affairs of INEC, I think that is the greatest danger to credibility of an election. My brother here is trying to say that INEC's failure this time should not be put on the table of the president. I remember the time when they met in Abuja when they have this peace pact. When the president was called upon to make a speech, he said Nigerians should commend him for organizing free and fair election in 2011 and subsequent elections. The credit didn't go to INEC. The president claimed the credit. So if INEC is found to have bungled any aspect of this election, I think whatever should be called, it should go to the president as well. Because we all talk about 2007 election, the do or die election conducted by Obasanjo. Obasanjo was not the chairman of INEC, but Nigeria still blamed that election on him. So that is just by the way. The last caller made a salient point. We have had elections since 2011, especially where the issue of PVC came up. We had in Osun, we had in Ekiti. We had these situations when not everybody was able to collect PVC. Nobody called for the postponement of the election that time. You see, let me tell you one thing. In any election, even if you postpone this election by under 2 years, not everybody will collect their PVC. It's as simple as ABC. Some people just register to fulfill all righteousness. Some people will only go and collect the PVC to say, maybe tomorrow when my child is going to school, they could say, come and present. It is not everybody that will vote. There is no part of the constitution that says a percentage of voters, registered voters, must vote. What is talked about is that those who vote, a percentage must determine the winner. Let us forget all these shenanigans. The problem is election has been fixed for February 14. INEC said they have produced all the necessary voters' card. They have extended it to 8. Some state governments have even declared public holiday for people to go and collect. They are even calling on employers of labor, give your workers public holiday to go and collect. INEC still said it is possible for them to postpone this thing till 13th. I think what we should be deploying our energy on is how do we make sure Nigerians collect this PVC. Because let me tell you one thing. If we postpone this election again, in 2011 election, INEC fixed a date for the election. On the day of the election, everybody got to the polling booth, the materials were not there. INEC chairman had to go on radio to make a public pronouncement that they have shifted the election. In election matters, you don't know what is going to happen. Because there is a need for us to be conscious of May 29. That is why Nigerians are worried. Nothing must happen to create constitutional crisis. The Nigerian Constitution since 1999 says election must hold every 4 years. Because there must be handover on May 29. That is why everybody is trying to play safe. Because the moment we shift once, Nigerians will know them.
Let's attempt to move away from this issue of postponement, because except INEC says otherwise, it looks as if the February 14 is still working. But let's also quickly answer to Chukwu's question, because he asked you what the presidency is doing about people with disabilities. He also noted that none of the candidates have been able to come out to talk about their plans for this category of people.
Well, if Toshukwu has been very observant, you know that the officers of the physically challenged, because I don't like to call them, that nobody has any disability, physically challenged people have been very close to this government, and they have been involved in nearly everything that this government is doing. Not only that, even at the party level, they have in each of the committees that set up either for convention, for one, you have either 1 or 2 of their members also put there. And every time you find PDP doing anything, you find those who interpret through sign languages, and so they are big. And again, it has been the policy of government that since I think in the last 2 or 3 years, any construction of any building constructed by government, there must be opportunity given for special way by which the physically challenged people can easily access this building, access facility they are in. But also, more than that, you will find out that Shopee has a special program meant for this category of Nigerians. And so one other thing. And again, my personal view is this. I have gone to school with a number of these people. I remember there used to be one guy when we were in Ife, he was in studying mass communication in Unilab. His name then Taju. Taju was a very, very brilliant guy. And I think during our youth service, I used to hear his voice somewhere. I don't get connected with him nowadays, but he is one person that doesn't like to be pampered. He doesn't like sympathy, but not that he minds F. But I think that's what we are doing. You know, it's to support them. Don't let them feel that you are sympathizing with them. You can empathize, but it's not a question of sympathy. That's and that's the policy of this government, to support them institutionally and to support them in any way that is feasible.
Let's take this call. Hello, good morning. Welcome to Call Digest. Are you there?
Hello.
What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Bendel.
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 Okay, where are you calling from, Bendel?
Bendel. I'm calling from Abuja.
Abuja, go ahead with your contribution, please.
My contribution goes to the same question as Tochukwu has asked about the disability bill.
Go ahead, please.
So I'm one of the persons with disability. It seemed to shock me why the federal government has not been able to sign the disability bill up to now, despite all the efforts we have made previously. The young man there who is representing the federal government, the PDP government, is not fully answering the question. And I want to put to him that tomorrow he could be a disabled. Will he like the federal government to treat him the way federal government is treating the disabled people in this country? The only government will that will hello.
Well, with you, Bende.
Hello.
Well, with you, go ahead with your contribution.
Yes. What I wanted to say, the government of this country should leave it in the board constitutionally that every disabled person in this country should be taken care of, should be rehabilitated. I remember during the Abacha government, there was a rehabilitation department under Federal Ministry of Women Affairs that catered for disabled people. I benefited in that scheme. But this government of PDP has never done anything. Even then, they have not even come up to address the issue of disability. They have not even come with disabled people.
It's all right. I believe you made your point there, Bende. Doctor, you must really look young on screen because for him to have called you a young man, young is relative. I should have been young man in this panel.
I sympathize with Bende. Nobody likes to be in a situation that maybe is very challenging. But I think he also speaks from point of view of ignorance in the number of things that has been done. And from what he is, for some of us, we have been involved with them at the individual level, even right from school. His own, I understand the angle that he's coming from. It's the angle of doling out all these things. But that is not what most people who are physically challenged, that's not what they're asking for. You get the point? That's not what they're asking for. They are asking for opportunity, like given to them, like any other citizen, to contribute their quota to the development of their nation.
Okay.
And that environment must be conducive for them to develop their inner ability. You get the point? But this one that is saying that during Abacha they gave up to me, I don't want to comment so much on that. We know Abacha government, and this maybe he was one of the most beneficiary of Abacha government. But this is not an Abacha era. This is a democratic process. Everything is subject to procedure. There are department. This department that is talking about is still government cannot, because of the exit of Abacha, cannot cancel the department. The department is there, and the department is still functioning. But like on the Abacha era that is talking about, that is doling out of money and all these things, these people are being supported institutionally. And it is more dignified. That's more dignified. Like I told you at the convention of your PDP, in every committee there are the physically disabled challenged people, because they are also members of the party. As you find them in ABGA, you find them in PDP, you find them in APC. So they are being catered for, but not in the way that he is expecting.
Let's move away to other developing stories. Dipo Olayokun, the Nobel laureate Wole Soyinka, on the newspapers today, he said, "I have 60 reasons why I won't vote for Jonathan." The question is, what would you say his electoral value is at this time?
No, you see, this is the season for endorsements, and political parties are looking for endorsements from here and there. And if you have been very active on the social media in the past 3-4 weeks, a lot of quotations have been credited to Professor Oleshenka as to why he is supporting the president. As a matter of fact, when he came up yesterday or the first day to comment on his rumored death, journalists being what we are, they thought it was an opportunity for him to also clear the air. And don't forget that during the 2011 elections or thereabout, he came out to tell us the reasons why he was not going to support General Muhammadu Buhari. And maybe people were drawing conclusion from that. If you are not going to support Buhari, definitely you must support President Jonathan. So I don't think there's any big deal in that thing. It's just to clear himself. But I think just as a further comment on the question you asked, I think it's just to let you know the triviality attached to Nigerian politics. Because in recent weeks, we are in the season of endorsement. What takes preeminence in the papers is so group has endorsed this, so group and endorsed this. And like you said, the people that are endorsing, what is the electoral value in the real sense of it? Let me tell you one thing, unless we want to deceive ourselves, as at today, I think February 6th or so, 95% of Nigerian voters, that those who will vote in the next election, have made up their minds, unless we want to deceive ourselves. So if anybody is now running after a big person to endorse him or her, probably to swear votes towards him or her position, I think the person must be daydreaming. But again, Nigerians need to elevate themselves above this individual endorsement. At my level, you cannot say because somebody is endorsing somebody, I'm going to follow suit. But because of the level of our political sophistication, they will still find a situation where a godfather in a community determines where people will vote for, whether they like it or not. But I think with proper education, we will get way above that level.
The professor clearly has not even come out and endorse anyone, because I also recall that the moment APC chose the general, he wasn't quite pleased with the choice of General Muhammadu Buhari, just like he's saying that he has reasons why he won't vote for the...
And that's why I said, when he said he was not going to support Buhari in 2011, I have not heard this comment about him in 2015. People believe that if you are not going to support this person, then the next person, because whether we like it or not, unless we are deceiving ourselves, this election is between the President Jonathan and General Buhari. So if you are not supporting B, definitely you must be for A.
Do you agree with him that the professor's comment has no impact whatsoever on the chances of your principal in this election?
Oh, well, the respected professor is my teacher. I just say that, honestly, it has no value. It has no electoral value. I mean, but those who vote, it has no, just for maybe a feast here and there. And also to say that Prof is closer to them than any other, I mean, he's closer to them. We see him in the ranks of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He's closer to them, I remember he came with the governor of Osun State, Aregbesola, to Ilesha, my hometown. So he is, he is speaking like an admirer of quite a number of people in that party. So that's no, it won't have any meaning.
It's all right. Let's take this call. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Welcome to Call Digest. Are you there? I'm afraid we lost that. When you're calling in, enable to turn down the volume of your TV set so we can have a crystal clear communication. And you also recall that there's a delay between what we say and what you hear on your StarTimes device. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Welcome to Call Digest.
How are you?
Terrific. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, I'm calling from Adamawa State.
What's your name, please?
Yeah, I'm calling from Adamawa State. My name is Jones.
Jones?
Yes, Jones from Adamawa.
All right, what a name you've got there. Go ahead with your contribution, Jones.
Yes, please, I would like to draw my contribution straight to that Mr. Awuso.
Okay.
Doctor, please.
Dr. Awuso. All right, go ahead, please.
Yes, Mr. Awuso, please, if you are comfortable today, you believe you've made your family to be comfortable, what if you die tomorrow what do you think will happen to your family that you left behind?
I don't understand what you're driving at. Hold on, Jones. If you don't hold on, I'm going to cut you off. I don't understand the point you're driving at. I'm not going to allow you to attack the personality of my guest. So just make your contributions issues based as you can. I won't allow you to talk to him like that, except you're ready to make it.
I am not insulting him, but his contribution. No, I am not insulting him, but his contribution for the present dispensation is somehow. You see, when INEC has the power, they have the power to say we can go forward or we can withdraw. Why should be agitating?
I'm afraid we lost that call. But
let me just, Mr. Jones, because I believe you are listening. Whether a man will live or die is in the hands of God. I'm a Christian, and I forgive you for whatever you have said. It is, in any discussion there are two positions. That's my own position. That's why I went to school. I didn't go to school so that people can intimidate me with their ideas. No. If you know my history, you know that I'm not a person that can be easily intimidated. What I believe in, whatever I believe in, I stand by it. I'm telling you that I have fears about the ability of the INEC to be able to midwife this election in the way we are going. You get the point? Thank goodness that they have extended to 14th of and they have extended that to 13, that they can even distribute this. But I think it's an invitation to chaos. He will begin to distribute a PVC a day to the election, and in a long queue you will just throw even miscreants who has no business with PVC. We see the opportunity to cause confusion. When they cause confusion, that's how they can pick pockets and all these things. So we must be very careful.
That's all right.
I believe that, like the gentleman has said, that the May 29 should be sacrosanct, so that we don't have constitutional crisis in our hand. But small adjustment here. I believe this nation, the interest of this nation is paramount, and that this nation also is the leader in Africa. Whatever happens in this nation affect all other Africa, not only the Africa south of Sahara, the entire black world. It will affect the entire black world. So we have to be very careful. If in any endeavor, every endeavor in life is a compound of two, both evil and good. But a reasonable man go for that one that contains more good than evil. If we shift the election, it has some good, and if we don't and we go ahead into chaos, it's also, so we have to balance.
Let's quickly touch on this issue of inflammatory statements and hate speech. You recall what Fayose printed on the front page of the paper. Many are beginning to think that, especially from what I heard Jones said, probably most of our leaders are just a mouthpiece for the level of thinking that still persists in Nigeria as a nation. But thank goodness DSS came out recently to say that they are determined to deal with individuals and groups who indulge in inflammatory statements. As a matter of fact, the spokesman Marilyn Olga said that there are times that they had invited some of these ex-Niger militant leaders for question, that they didn't have to make that public. Because you recall that prior to this time, many were saying that how come nobody has questioned Asari Dokubo? How come nobody is calling them to, questioning them? But what are your thoughts along this line, the steps that the DSS has just taken?
Without meaning to impugn the integrity of DSS, I don't think I have much comment on the activities of DSS. Reason being that it took Nigerians, when they could not contain what was coming from those guys, to shout at us, say, come, what is happening? DSS, have you gone to bed? We knew your stance some few weeks back over certain things, but that is not even the issue. The issue is, why is it possible for Nigerians, actually Nigerian political elites, to understand that politics is a game of fun? We see politics being played in other countries. Even not talking of the so-called first world, but our own continent of Africa here. We witnessed election in Ghana. We witnessed election in Senegal. We witnessed election in Kenya. Yes, there was problem in Kenya and the international community stepped in. But how come that in this climb, we see politics, whether we like it or not, as a game of death? Let me tell you one thing, Nifemi. my office in Apapa. If you have an office in Apapa today, you must leave your office latest 5:30, 6 o'clock. Because by 7 o'clock, these boys will come out in the name of political parties and visit mayhem on Nigerians. You see them wearing the armband, the wristband, the whatever of identity of political parties. As a matter of fact, on Tuesday this week, there was a campaign rally. You see hoodlums holding gun, sophisticated ammunition. And nobody was pointing my attention to it. That guy carrying that gun, do you think he could afford to buy that gun? And police were there. So I think it goes beyond inflammatory statements or utterances by these people. Let the DSS, let the police be empowered. I don't mean in terms of ammunition, in terms of psychology, to say, no, we will not go, we are not going to take this. Let me give you an instance. Saturday last week, it's in the media, everybody witnessed, know it, people saw it, it was happening live. A senatorial candidate of a political party went to the office of the other senatorial party of another party, carrying guns with hoodlums. They were shooting. Policemen were there. No single arrest was made. This is enough to provoke Nigerians. Because we see these things. If you cannot leave your faith in the hands of security agencies, then everybody will now say to your tent, oh, yes, I think that is what should be of concern to Nigerians.
Before you came in, we were talking about how to ensure the neutrality of security agencies. I don't know if you've seen the video on Twitter, but there's a very incriminating video that I saw this morning as it got certain political stakeholders debating and talking about how they were influencing military parastatal in the Ekiti election. Very disturbing. Maybe I'll show it to you before you leave. But how do we ensure the neutrality of these agencies at this time, especially when they are under political leadership?
Well, you see, essentially, to be very honest with you, I think my own take there is that Nigeria, we are seeing transition. Essentially, the political class in Nigeria is challenged. It's greatly challenged. A lot of people, APC, PDP, ABGA, ordinarily, by my own assessment, that should not be given any position. I should not move near political office. We have that challenge. And I think as we continue to evolve, that's why it's unfortunate that the military, the period of military interregnum has really drawn us back. If we had the opportunity to move, one will overcome challenge and we still stay within the political environment, maybe we will be able to overcome this challenge. But I tell you, because looking at the history of the world, there was a time in Great Britain that the Parliament of Great Britain cannot sit beyond 12 noon. You get the point? You know what happened? When the Parliament goes on break, the parliamentarians will have been totally drunk. And when they come back, they make all sorts of law that will plunge the society to crisis. I'm telling you, go ask him, an historian, recorded it very well, go it. But there came a time when some people said, look, there must be different. And this, I'm sorry to say, this type of people, they were the Puritans. They were essentially what they call the first set of born-again Christians, can be say born-again Christian. And what they did was that in everywhere, any area that they find themselves, they will work for the nation, believing that they are working for God and they are responsible to God, first and foremost before their immediate boss. And that is what led indirectly to the Industrial Revolution, because they were in the industry, their work ethics were different from other people. So I think Nigeria will still get to that stage. Right. The state at which we are now is not pleasant. Talking now, but I have confidence in the security agencies that they will do their very best
without partisan interest. Without being partisan, because it is in their interest to do it as individual. Because whatever you do now that you are in service, you will give account when you go out of service. If you are 30 years old now, by the time you are 70 years old, people will begin to remind you of what you did. There was a man in my hometown who was a policeman. I won't mention his name. The man is deceased now. What he did, and there was also a man who was a lawyer. Somebody told me, somebody came yesterday, he was talking to me that, so and so want to contest, that the son of that man. He said, I doubt if that man will win. I said, why? He said, realizing what his father did, during action group and all these things. And you get the point. Like in my own time, they tell you that the Panadian panded
100 years ago. If you touch it today, it will still be very hot. So that is it. I think with the interest of the nation must be paramount in anything that we do.
It's all right.
That is where I stand.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming today. It looks as if we don't have enough time to discuss this, but we're hoping that you also find time to join us subsequently, because these issues evolve. We need you to be around to also discuss, especially you, sir, so that you can balance the discussion for us. Thank you for calling. We had Zebedee calling from Abbas, Salise from Niger, Yahya calling from Benin, Vende from Abuja, Jones called in from Adabawa. But Jones actually broke my heart with his contribution. And I think that we'll have to indulge our viewership to use the Twitter platform, because it seems to be very hard for us now to coordinate the calls and the utterances bit, because we must show that we are genuine citizens of this country and watch the kind of utterances we make when we call on air. Once again, Dipo Olayoku, thank you for joining us. Special Assistant to President on Public Relations, Dr. Olusoya Awoso, thank you for joining us today. Well, it's a wrap this week on Call Digest. We'll be back next week as we count down to the February 14 presidential election. We'll keep tabs on the preparation of INEC, keep tabs on preparation of security agencies, and of course, bring you in-depth review and analysis of developing stories as usual. I am Nifebi Oguntoye. Stick around for the top of the hour news.
You can now watch Core TV News live from anywhere in the world on our website www.coretvnews.com. Click on Live TV on our website and watch us live.
And welcome to Core TV Primetime News.
To follow us on Twitter, click on Twitter icon on our website. On Facebook, click on the Facebook and YouTube to see all our previous news production. You can also watch us live on YouTube. Click Core TV, leave a space, then News. Core TV News, a 24-hour news station.